Okay, hello everyone. I'm just starting our webinar live right now about how to find students worldwide on social media platforms you're already familiar with. And this is the perfect webinar if you're someone who's looking to expand your online ESL teaching business worldwide. Find students from all around the world, not just countries like China that I know a lot of teachers have focused on previously. Just getting started. If you're watching the replay, feel free to jump ahead a little bit. I'll put in chapters so you can jump ahead to where we get started in the main content. If you are joining live, please do introduce yourself in the comments. Let me know that the sound and everything's all working okay, that you can hear me fine, and tell me maybe where you're tuning in from or what you're excited to learn about in today's workshop. So let me know in the comments if you're joining us live. If you're watching the replay, as I said, do just jump ahead. I'm going to put in chapters to the relevant sections so you won't miss anything. Okay, I'm just going to check that the live stream is going through. Please let me know in the chat if it's all live. All right, there's always some weird tech blips that happen sometimes at the beginning. It disconnects my microphone briefly, so I'm hoping the sound is still working okay. Let me quickly put it up on my phone as well. Is it looking good? Okay. Looks like the live is going through. Fantastic. Very good. Oh, I say that. Maybe not. Give me a second, everyone. If you're doing us live, just a little bit of patience. Let me know in the chat you're joining us and it's all working okay. I'm just going to quickly double check for my phone because it's doing a slightly funny thing. What's happening here? Okay. No, that looks good. Right. Excellent. Yeah, there's also a bit of a lag, by the way. There's about a 30-second lag between me talking and then YouTube actually live streaming it just because of tech-related things. So great, seeing some people tuning in. Fantastic. Gladys here from New Jersey. Awesome. Deborah, great to see you again. Hello from Tennessee. Fantastic. Awesome. Okay, as I was just saying, today's webinar is all about how to find students worldwide using social media platforms you are already familiar with and connecting with students from all around the world. So it's really great to see so many people joining us today from lots of different countries as well, which is fantastic. And I do hope you find today's webinar helpful and inspirational with lots of valuable content. As a quick introduction, if you are new here, my name is Katie, and most people probably know me as the director of Abridge Academy, which sells interactive digital teaching resources for online ESL teachers. I've been an online teacher since 2013. I'm also a qualified classroom teacher here in the UK, and I've lived, studied, and taught in the UK, China, and Japan before, which has given me some insights, at least, into English education worldwide. I co-founded an online ESL startup program back in 2020 and grew that. But right now I'm focusing on my own independent online teaching, and I also sell curriculum and courses for fellow online teachers as well. That's just a little introduction to me. Jumping straight in though to the topic for today, because there's a lot to get through and I don't want you guys all sitting around bored. Lots to talk about in today's session. First question I want to ask anyone who's joining us live. What social media platforms do you currently use every day? And are these the same as the ones you might be using for promoting your classes already? Let me know in the comments. I know for myself, the main social media platforms I use personally, probably giving away my age a bit here, but Facebook is by far the one I spend the most time on. And to a certain extent, I'm also active on places like Instagram, just for my own sort of personal social media. And of course, I'm here on YouTube doing things, directly promoting my business mostly here on YouTube. But it's another platform I do enjoy very much. So let me know in the comments what social media platforms you use on a regular basis every day. Gladys is saying Facebook. Excellent. Definitely a very well-known one. And we're going to be talking quite a bit about Facebook as we go through today's webinar. YouTube. Excellent. Very good. Another one that's going to be coming up. There's going to be some familiar apps, I'm sure, being mentioned in the comments. Yeah, Facebook, YouTube, very good. And YouTube, excellent. Okay, I'm sensing a common trend here. So those are definitely two of the platforms we'll be talking about in today's workshop. So to kind of set a bit of context, I know a lot of teachers so far particularly in the ESL teaching world, to focus on the Chinese market, and it's something that even I myself have focused a lot on Chinese students. As you may be aware, a few years back there was a big change in the Chinese market. A lot of the big online companies based there closed, big demand therefore for online ESL teachers, so everyone was flocking over there in terms of advertising their classes, right? However, things have sort of changed over the last 3 to 4 years since that happened. And teachers are starting to find that finding students on Chinese social media is becoming more and more difficult. So just to outline a few of the problems, and let me know in the comments if these resonate with you, if you've had similar issues yourself, if you do advertise on Chinese social media. So firstly, when you open up one of these apps like Xiaohongshu or WeChat, or in fact, a whole range of different apps you might be using, most of the Chinese apps, at least, are all in Chinese, and you have no idea what most posts and comments are saying when you first open up and start scrolling through and looking at content. This also means that for you yourself, if you're trying to create content that's in Chinese because you're targeting a Chinese audience, you may then struggle to create content authentically by yourself without the use of translation apps or AI, because if you use those tools, unfortunately, quite often your posts then get flagged as being AI-generated content, even if you're the original text in English you created yourself. Which can be very frustrating. Another issue as well that I know probably quite a few teachers have struggled with is getting restricted on some of these apps. All social media apps have got restrictions and policies in place which are there to protect users from spam and from sort of scams and all that kind of stuff. But sometimes we accidentally end up triggering these kind of restrictions because of things that we didn't know were against the rules. So that can be a real challenge. For example, if you're posting on an app like Xiaohongshu, a Red Note, they don't allow you to post external links, and they also are very wary of sort of what they see as overly promotional or like, how to describe it, like hyperbolic, is that the word? Hyperbole? The content that's very dramatic, like, oh, this is the best, blah, 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 or I think the most effective way, blah, blah, blah. Anything that's using these sort of superlative phrases gets flagged a lot in Chinese, even though in English we use that kind of structure quite a lot, just as a sort of way of expressing emphasis, right? So sometimes little things like that can result in your post getting flagged for a reason that you don't even understand, and you weren't even aware about, and that can be quite sort of frustrating, particularly if your account gets restricted. Related to that as well is that you might be unfamiliar with some of the sort of social media etiquette on certain apps. There's different culture on different apps, different expectations. There's also like memes and trends and things that really vary a lot between different platforms. And so you might find that because you're not really understanding the expectations of other users on the app, that you're struggling to do well in the algorithm or connect with your target audience. And also just because the apps are kind of confusing and you don't quite understand what everyone's saying on them, you might not enjoy using that app, which means that you're avoiding it as much as possible. Right? You open up, once or twice a week perhaps, create a post because you put that on your schedule. I must create a post on Red Note this week, and you post it, and then you close the app and you don't go back again, which means that you're not responding to comments, you're not really engaging with the community, you're not keeping an eye out for the latest trends and things that are sort of happening or changes or new features on the apps, and that really affects your ability to promote your classes. So yeah, if any of this sounds familiar, please do let me know in the comments, because I've heard a lot of reports of similar issues from teachers, like in our Facebook group, and sort of in general. So if this sounds familiar, why not just use the social media apps you are already familiar with, right? Instead of sitting here stressing about, some app you can't even pronounce the name of and don't understand how it works, and you're struggling, you're bashing away every week at creating content, and you're just not getting any new students from it, take a step back and think, actually, is there somewhere else I could be going? Using apps I already know. So, if that sounds a bit appealing to you, here are some ideas. There are so many different social media apps that are used worldwide. China is a bit of its own like microcosm of social media. Right? They block a lot of the sort of international apps, which means that their own domestic apps have become really popular within that very specific market. But then outside of China, a whole bunch of different apps are popular in most of the other countries around the world, right? So rather than just focusing on one country, why not focus on the 190 odd other countries that are out there that are using other apps without the kind of same restrictions, and that are more open and accessible and you already know how to use, right? So these apps, I'm talking Facebook, YouTube, the ones you've all been commenting in the chat here. I've seen Facebook, yeah, YouTube. These same ones have been coming up again and again, right? All of these apps we already know how to use because you already have a feel for how these platforms work. You already kind of know what to expect, right? If you open up YouTube, you know that's going to be videos, lives, maybe YouTube shorts, right? You already know what kind of content's popular. So from your own perspective, if you start going onto YouTube, start advertising, you know that, okay, yes, you can create text-based content in the community tab. You can create polls and stuff, but you also are already aware that that kind of stuff doesn't tend to reach a wider audience in the algorithm. It's more for your existing followers. Right? You already know that. You haven't had to research that because you're already familiar with the platform. Likewise, you know, somewhere like Instagram, you know, it's really, really important for your post to have that kind of visual appeal because it's a very visual focused platform. So this already gives you a head start in terms of understanding the algorithm, the kind of content that's popular, and the general user experience that people are expecting to have. Additionally, if you're advertising on global social media apps, you're going to get students globally as well. This is fantastic if you're someone who's getting very frustrated at only having 3 hours a day where all your students are demanding all of their classes, and then big blank times a day where you have nothing else to do and none of your students are available because they're either in school or asleep, right? So by teaching in a whole wide range of different countries, you're going to have students across a range of different time zones, and therefore you'll be able to teach a wider range of hours. Being able to teach more hours means more income. That's always fantastic as a teacher. And on top of that, by diversifying a bit and targeting a range of different markets, you're also more adaptable to market changes. I want to give that example before of the big changes that happened in the Chinese market. It was about 4 summers back now. Overnight, companies closed and shut down, right? Because those companies were focusing too much on just one specific market. And the government made some massive changes and basically banned their entire business model. And the next day they closed. Okay, you don't want that to be you. Okay, you want to have a range of students from a range of different places so that if some issues come up in one country or another, then it doesn't matter because maybe you've lost 10-20% of your audience. That's okay, a bit frustrating, but it hasn't completely closed down your entire business model. So yeah, this is some of the key reasons why I think teachers should be looking worldwide on other social media apps. Just a quick look at the chat there. They're just saying, will there be a link for the video afterwards? Yeah, it's the exact same link. So you're currently watching on YouTube, the link at the top, the YouTube link or whatever, this same link will still keep working, right? The YouTube keeps the live stream afterwards as a recording at the same place. So if you want to kind of refresh your memory on anything, look back at stuff, or if you need a proper way to do something and then come back later, don't worry, the video will still be here. Comment here, that was brutal. Yeah, hopefully was that referring to like Chinese chaos or this company's close? It was pretty harsh, right? As someone who had maybe a little bit more insider knowledge into what was going on at the time, these companies did have a bit of warning. They had about at least 6 months or so notice that changes were happening, but I don't think they anticipated that the changes would actually be implemented, and they certainly didn't bother telling teachers that it was coming. Yeah. Another comment here, I used to work for an online Chinese ESL platform before COVID. Okay, yeah, quite a while back. And COVID is a good example as well of where there were big market changes, big boom on online learning in a whole bunch of different countries that maybe hadn't considered it previously, right? Awesome. Okay, so hopefully I've got you all excited about the potential of these different social media platforms. And what we're going to be learning about today is essentially the top 5 global social media platforms for finding students worldwide. These are pretty well correlated with the top 5 in terms of the number of users you saw on that previous screen, but not entirely. We're going to pick out a few others as well. You're also going to learn about which platforms work best for specific age groups, regions, or content that you like to create, so you can pick the best platform for you. For each one, we're going to dig into some useful features, tools, and top tips for success so that you can jump in and get started using these platforms, not just as a general user, but as someone actually advertising your classes. So including actual actionable strategies you can use today. And there is a link in the comments, I'm also going to put it in the chat, for a free guide to finding your students globally. If you haven't already got this guide, highly recommend downloading it. It's going to cover some of the stuff we covered today, also some other stuff and more details. It's a perfect complement to today's webinar, so please do check that out. I'm just going to pop the link very quickly in the chat. And if you're watching the replay, it's already linked underneath the video. So free guide to finding students worldwide. Okay, oh yes, and here's more detail. I knew I had a slide about this. So free resource to finding students globally on social media. So this particular PDF guide, download it and consume it at your own leisure. It's an opportunity for you to discover the best social media platforms to find students worldwide. As a quick hint, they're also the ones we're going to be talking about in our webinar today. Lots of actionable strategies and top tips. So don't worry about taking notes from today's webinar. A lot of the stuff we're going to be talking about is also in the guide. There's lots of inspirational ideas and example content you can steal and repurpose yourself in order to get started, as well as some really useful insights into how to build a marketing funnel that actually works, like how to get people from the social media app into classes and starting to actually pay you, as paying students, right? How to make that funnel work. So have a look at that resource. The link is in the chat. Right, enough of a sales pitch. Let's jump into the actual content then. So which of these apps do you already know or use? I know we've already mentioned some of them. I think Facebook and YouTube got mentioned about 50 times already, which is excellent. Thinking about one of these you already know. So let me know in the chat which of these you're familiar with. Recognize a logo, mention the name in the chat. Always good to get an idea of what we already know. And then maybe pick the one you're most familiar with and tell us a bit about it. Like what kind of content can you create on that particular platform? Who is using it? Is it a platform for young kids? Is it a platform that's popular with sort of professionals, for example? What do you already know about these platforms? And then in terms of when people create content, or if you yourself are sort of doom scrolling and browsing stuff in your spare time, how does this app recommend you new people to follow or recommend you new content to consume? Right? Is it algorithm driven? Do you tend to search for stuff on the platform? Is it based more on a sort of a community or networking? How is new content and new people being shared on the platform? So that's going to give you a bit of an insight into how you from the other side can get more people to see your content. So I just realized I've bombarded you about a million questions. But let me know in the chat which of these you already know or use. Drop the name. And then maybe tell us a little bit about whichever your favorite one is, whichever one you know the most about, what you already know about these apps. While you do that, I'm going to stop rambling and have a quick drink because it's been really hot today. I feel like most of these are going to be familiar to you guys. If there's any that's not familiar, let us know in the comments if you've got a question about any of these 5 apps, any you don't know, because it's always good to get an idea if there's something that we need to cover in more detail. Got a comment here from Margaret. Thanks for joining us, Margaret. Facebook and YouTube, absolutely. Probably the most popular among my audience, mostly because those are the 2 I use the most in terms of promoting Abridge Academy, my business, selling teaching resources, and things like these webinars and stuff. I advertise quite heavily on Facebook and YouTube. So I feel like probably reaches an audience most familiar with those 2 platforms. That's good to see. What other apps do we know? And what do you know about them? Also, by the way, I put the link to the guide in the chat. It's going to be permanently linked under the video as well, so feel free to come back to it later. But the link is there if you want to open it in another tab or something for future reference. Okay, what other apps do we know? Just scrolling up to see what we talked about earlier. I think everyone mentioned Facebook and YouTube pretty much. Deborah was saying, I use Facebook, started a business page. Interesting. I have Instagram, but not active on it. Good to know. And actually, this is quite an interesting. You might be aware Facebook and Instagram are both owned by Meta, the same company. There are some links between the 2 apps. They're not the same though. So actually, the kind of content you like to create might mean that you sort of veer more towards one app than the other, for example. And that's great to see that you're kind of aware of some of those differences. YouTube has a lot of how-to. Yeah, the kind of content that's popular. And this, by the way, comes down to a bit about like how people search and find content. YouTube is quite a search-driven platform. People tend to search for like, how do I do this, right? How do I fix my car? And the other week I was searching for, how do I repressurize my boiler because the thing broke again, right? So this is, people search for a lot of how-to content, tutorials, guides, sort of deep dives or content that explains how to do things on YouTube. So any kind of video that starts with how to blah, blah, blah is a great video for YouTube in general. Excellent example. Whereas I find that sort of entertaining content, stuff like that, might be more of a TikTok thing. I mean, there is a lot of entertaining content on YouTube too, but there's definite differences in terms of the kind of videos that are popular, even on apps that have quite a bit of similarity. Yeah, YouTube is a great search engine. It's even owned by the biggest search engine in the world, YouTube, right? I'm sorry, Google. Google is the biggest search engine. Google owns YouTube. They're the same company. So it is indeed a very search-driven platform. And in fact, the videos that you post on YouTube will also show up in Google search. So if you create a video here, like this specific live right now, let's say someone in a year's time is searching for what are the top 5 social media platforms for finding students globally, maybe this video will then be featured on Google search, right, as a YouTube link. They do actively kind of cross-promote. I love YouTube. I use Instagram too, but I don't favor posting there. It gets lost quickly. Yeah, I personally find that the Instagram kind of algorithm, how people engage with content, is a little bit more difficult. Some people love Instagram and they can do really well on it. For me personally, I've always found it a bit slow in my experience. And you're right, content gets lost. And also I like the word quickly there. Content on YouTube lasts for a long time. You can create a video now, and in 5 years' time, people will still be watching it. Okay? Some of my oldest videos are still getting like more views than my latest content actually. It's really, because it's so search driven, it doesn't really matter when you made the content. Whereas on apps like Instagram, some of these apps, if it hasn't really been engaged with it within the first 24 hours or the first week or so, the content's dead. That's it, it's gone. And it's not really going to be actively recommended much by the algorithms going forward. So yeah, you can easily get kind of buried on some of the other apps. LinkedIn, great for getting your resume noticed, absolutely. And it's a good place if you're connecting with companies, agents, referral partners. We'll talk a little bit more about LinkedIn as we go through in today's webinar, because it's a kind of platform that I think a lot of people are looking into. It has a lot of potential. I'm saying the thing with Facebook's find the right groups that aren't scammy. Yep. How to get the right messaging to stand out among 50 million other teachers. It's challenging. We're going to talk a lot more about this later on in the webinar, and it's also in the guide, so do check those out. But hopefully it will help you a little bit with that strategy. In terms of like TikTok, but the search engine is better. Interesting. You see, I feel like TikTok has got a better algorithm for recommending you content sort of by itself. You don't have to bother searching on TikTok. People don't tend to search that much. They just sort of keep scrolling and videos pop up, right? So it's very algorithm focused. Interesting that you're saying that Instagram has got a better search functionality, and I wonder whether that is quite a big difference in terms of how people are engaging with those platforms, right? People do search on Instagram for like local activities or local area, like places and recommendations, for example. Facebook for the older crowd. Oh, I'm not old, honest. TikTok for the younger crowd. Okay, yeah, I can see that. We might define older and younger, but it's slightly different ages. We'll see. I agree, especially since Meta took over. Kind of unwieldy, yeah. It's text about job offers, but you never know if they're legit. I think that's a really big challenge. LinkedIn and actually all platforms have got scammers and things to watch out for, so always be careful. I don't like the way TikTok takes the wheel. Not quite sure what you're referring to there, but yeah. It's always good to try out different platforms, get a feel for what you like, and what content you engage best with, and also that kind of reflects on what kind of content you like to create as well. Okay, so we've got an idea then of quite a few of these apps have all been mentioned now. We've got an idea of what they're all about. Let's jump into some details. The first one I want to talk about is the one that I think everyone has mentioned at some point, Facebook. Facebook, as you're no doubt aware, is a very community-focused platform. I would say that Facebook groups is a huge part of the app, and in fact that's the first place I would focus on if you're going there to promote your classes. It's very popular with millennial parents and older adults. I'm not counting millennials as old. I'm not old, honest. And people can create a whole bunch of different types of content, particularly text-based posts, images, short or long form videos, live streams, all kinds of stuff, right? All different formats of content are possible on Facebook. Let me just position my face so it's not in the way. Facebook could be a great fit for you if you're someone who teaches kids, because they're parents that you're targeting, and they're parents of sort of young kids and even actually teenagers now. Their parents will likely be in that sort of key demographic for users of Facebook. And it also can be good for like mid-career professional learners. We're going to talk about LinkedIn later, but depending on what industry, a specific niche you're targeting, you might find that Facebook might be a better place than LinkedIn for certain target markets, perhaps. Or just because the kind of content you like to create might suit one platform over the other. If you're someone who likes creating sort of longer posts, you like sharing resources, you want to be able to add links to things, Facebook is a great place for that. And it's also somewhere to go if you enjoy that community atmosphere. And it's kind of like networking in a way, but not to the same extent that LinkedIn is. But it is very much about getting to know people, building a community, and having authentic discussions. It's less about the like viral content, for example, in sort of my experience, particularly in terms of who you're trying to connect with when it comes to promoting your classes. There are so many useful features that Facebook has. I'm just going to highlight a few key ones to focus on. You're probably familiar with the basics anyway of Facebook already. Firstly, Facebook groups. This is the place to go if you want to engage with existing communities, people who've already connected around a particular niche or a particular shared interest. Or you can even create your own Facebook group, and this is maybe more of a longer term strategy, to nurture and grow your own audience. Another thing, and I think someone mentioned this earlier about having a Facebook page. If you want more of a professional business presence, particularly if you are a company or a small agency or something, then a Facebook business page is really valuable. You can also do paid advertising through a business page. You can collect reviews and sort of showcase them. You can even have a tab on your business page where you can sell products and services and directly promote those. It's the place to go if you want more of a professional presence on Facebook. Another really useful feature, and this links into both the pages and the groups, are events. I would say events is one of the best ways to start promoting and reaching a wider audience on Facebook. You can organize and promote live webinars or any other kind of event, to be honest. It can be in-person events, online events, all kinds of stuff. And the great thing is that if you create an event, make sure it's public, like on your profile, whether it's your personal profile or a page. If you create an event, you can then share it to groups that you're in, and it will automatically appear in the upcoming events list on that particular group. Or you can even create an event directly within a group that you're already a member of. And then you can invite people to come to the event, and they get sent a notification saying, Katie's invited you to an upcoming webinar on how to find students worldwide, right? And that might have been how you found out about today's webinar, in fact, because this is a strategy I use a lot for promoting these webinars. Very easy to do and kind of directly puts your event in front of a wider audience. And finally, there's a lot of engagement strategies you can use within Facebook, right? Loads of ways that people engage with your content. You can add polls and quizzes. You can get people to react on the post. You can ask them to comment with stuff. All of that helps kind of get more engagement on your post and therefore helps the algorithm promote it to more people. So make sure that when you're creating content or planning your Facebook strategy, you take into account some of the different options and features that are available to you. Just realized my face was covering that last one, but hopefully you heard what I said. Okay. And I want to give you guys just a very quick win. This is my, if you're brand new to this, what to do kind of approach if you want students this week. My quick win suggestion for Facebook is to go into existing groups that already exist. Okay, don't worry about creating your own group. Don't even bother creating a page or something yet. Just jump into existing Facebook groups, search for relevant groups in your specific niche or that have a certain shared interest, or maybe in a certain location perhaps where you have something in common. More strategies than that, by the way, in the guide that is in the links in the description again. Because I couldn't fit it all on one page. I've got lots to talk about today. But yeah, search for relevant niche groups and join those. Once you're within the group, search for existing posts that people have already created, asking for tutors or asking questions that you can then add an answer to. For example, if you join like a local group for your local area, in my local Facebook group, there's always people, parents asking, does anyone have recommendations for an English teacher, right? Asking that question out there for their local community to make recommendations. So all you have to do is jump in the comments and say, oh, are you still looking for a tutor? I'm available, blah, blah, blah. And put a little, mini sales pitch. Nothing too pushy, but, they're asking for you, so tell them you're available. So that can very quickly and easily get you a few students if you're in the right kind of groups. And then the final thing I would also do, and this might take a couple of weeks to actually pay off, but is to share either a free lead magnet you've got, if you've got an email list and you've got one of these like forms where people register their email and get sent a little free guide or something, just like the free guide that's in the description. Or if you're running a webinar, you can create a very simple form on like Google Forms, right, for people to register an interest in the upcoming webinar, collect their email address, and then once you've done that, you can then get them on your email list. So in a group, you can create an event or you can create a post promoting these specific things, and people got to register to get access. To protect the group rules, but most groups are actually very open for you sharing free resources and free webinars. More sort of strategies and advice on this particular approach in the guide. I didn't want to do too much on that today, but there's a lot to cover on that topic, and I think I'm going to do some follow-up webinars, maybe with more details as well, because there's so much we could talk about. Yeah. So that is my quick win. Something to do today. Just a reminder that if you're interested in learning more about Facebook, we're going to jump into today's going to be quite a quick overview of all the platforms, by the way. If you want to learn more about Facebook and these strategies in particular, do have a look at this free resource. The link's in the description. I'll put it in the chat yet again because I can never share this too many times. This free guide includes a whole section all about Facebook groups specifically, including optimizing your profile so it converts once people have found your content in the group, how to find the best groups to promote in, and some post ideas and examples to give you some inspiration to get started. So link in the description for that. A quick look at the comments if you've got questions on Facebook. Otherwise, we're going to jump into the next one. Here's the guide, by the way. Free guide. Lots of useful tips. Please download it. I think I see a question there from Deborah about LinkedIn. We're going to get to that in a moment when we get to LinkedIn. Okay, great. So that was a quick summary about Facebook. I feel like most people are probably familiar with Facebook already, but I wanted to start with that one because it's quite a key, and I think has a lot of potential that teachers aren't necessarily taking advantage of. The next platform that a few people mentioned was Instagram. Instagram, I think, has some pros and cons, but it's certainly very popular. It's a very visual focused platform, and it's popular with sort of young adults and millennials. Well, a whole range of different ages, to be honest, but particularly that kind of audience. On Instagram, you can primarily create visual focused content. So images, carousel posts, which is like a slider with multiple images, stories, short form videos, all of that kind of stuff. So Instagram is a place for anything that is visual, in my kind of experience. There's other kind of content you can create, but this is certainly what tends to do best. Let me know in the chat if you have used Instagram and what your experiences have been with it, because I've heard mixed opinions from different teachers on their success on Instagram in particular. But in general, I would say Instagram could be a really good fit for you if you teach young professionals or university students. So that's a slightly younger audience than Facebook, perhaps, although there is, to be fair, a lot of overlap. If you're someone who enjoys sort of creating images or like Canva content, editing videos, you've got a really good eye for the visual side of things. Instagram, very visually focused, so that is definitely the place to go. And if you like to create sort of inspirational posts, maybe bite-sized tips, and you want to build more of a personal brand, Instagram is really a hub for that. There are lots of useful features on Instagram. Let me know in the chat what you use personally, whether that's for your own personal use of Instagram, like for sharing holiday pics or whatever you like to use it for, or whether that's for your business. I'd be interested to hear what you use currently at the moment. Firstly, I would say Instagram Reels are massive and have a lot of potential if you want to reach a wider audience. So these are short form videos, TikTok style. They have excellent reach and they can really go viral as well. Now, I have another video talking about whether or not you really want to go viral. That's a whole other topic. But the point is they can reach a much wider audience and they're directly being promoted a lot by the algorithms on Instagram. Another key feature on Instagram that is probably, it does exist on other apps, but is used the most on Instagram is Instagram stories. The great thing about those is they appear right at the very top of like when people open the app to begin with, the stories are right at the very top of the app. So they can be really highlighted to people. And they tend to reach mostly your existing audience, right? People already following you. So it's a good place to share like behind the scenes kind of insights, updates on like programs you're launching soon, sort of slightly more salesy content perhaps, or sort of calls to action, getting people to reach out directly to start scheduling a trial class, that kind of thing, case studies, testimonials. That's slightly more salesy focused content you can put in stories. And it's got lots of useful features like adding stickers, polls, quizzes. You can even add direct links onto your stories as well, which helps get that bit more engagement and direct people to where you want them to go next. So that's a really powerful feature that if you're using Instagram, you definitely should be using and taking advantage of the stories feature. Again, probably familiar to you, but I think it's just worth highlighting. One that I see less people using and definitely has a lot of potential in terms of helping you reach a new audience, particularly if your account is very small and you haven't got a lot of followers yet, is to do collaborations with other Instagram users, where you cross-post content or you can tag collaborators, and it's harnessing their network to get your name out there. This is a really good strategy to jump on when you're first getting started and in the longer term as well. You could be collaborating, for example, with your students if they've got Instagram accounts, or like their parents if you're teaching kids. You could even tag like schools, for example, that your students have either got into or they're currently studying at or they have some relationship with. If it's like, depending on the post content, if it's relevant to their specific school, you could talk about that. Or maybe your students have entered a competition and they've won a competition, right? And you make a post about it. You could tag that competition as a collaborator and invite them to collaborate on the post. And if they accept the collaboration, it then reshares it also on their account as if they're posting it to their audience. So that has a huge amount of potential to reach new people. And then finally, if you're approaching this more from a slightly kind of business salesy point of view, you can actually create a shop in Instagram and you can directly tag and sell digital products and programs from your Instagram shop. This, I'm going to be honest, is not massively popular, but the e-commerce aspects of Instagram are growing and has a lot of potential. So I would jump on that if you're someone who's got more of a sort of established business and want to have that sort of more businessy approach. Okay, so that was a few key features and suggestions. If you're just getting started on Instagram though, so let's say you've just opened an account for your tutoring business, you set it all up, you followed the details and the suggestions in the guide in terms of optimizing your profile and so on, and you want to start creating content, here are a few quick wins to get your first few followers and sort of grow your account more quickly while you're getting started. So firstly, if you've got any existing students or schools or like things like the competition stuff I just mentioned, tag them in the post or even add them as collaborators, invite them to collaborate on your posts. And that can be a really great way to reach their audience. Some people also do things like resharing it to their stories, for example, which again is putting your post content in front of their existing audience. Another thing you can do is if you're running like challenges or competitions, so maybe you're doing like a poster challenge, right? You want your students to, I don't know, make a poster promoting healthy eating, say, and you're opening this competition up not just to your current students, but also if you've got a group chat somewhere or some existing leads or an email list or something. So you've got a few people who are taking part in this competition. The way of them entering the competition could be that they need to post their picture of their poster on their Instagram and then tag you. So these kind of competitions where people are having to tag your account is then putting your account in front of their audience. And then I've also added here with caution. A lot of people do this excessively and it can result in your account getting flagged. So be very, very careful. I wouldn't, be very careful you're not doing this in a scammy way. But the whole following accounts that are in your target audience, reaching out to them directly, engaging with their content, like liking and commenting, that kind of thing. Do it gently and authentically rather than just mass following and unfollowing accounts. But it can be a good way to get some followers and things as well. So, yeah, I've just seen in the comments here. Deb was saying, I did a free how to make videos for Instagram and I feel like a tech dinosaur and gave up. Oh no. I think the other thing I would say, I will talk about this a bit later when picking a platform. Think about your own sort of tech skills, what kind of content you already know how to create and enjoy creating. So let's say you're not a big fan of video content, maybe. That's okay. You don't have to create video content. Instagram is also a great place for Canva graphics or for image-based posts. So you can create an account that solely focuses on Canva graphics and images. You don't have to do reels. You don't have to do long form videos. You don't have to do short form videos. You don't have to do YouTube lives and that kind of stuff if it's not something you're confident doing. I would start off with what you already know how to do because then you can get started straight away. And then in time, you can start to build up these additional things if you want to. Okay, and just a reminder again, because I'm going to talk about this a lot today because it really is a really great resource. I spent a lot of time creating this for you guys. Free resource to success on all of the platforms we're talking about today, including a short section about Instagram. The link is in the description, including things like profile optimization tips, what kind of content ideas and what kind of things you can post, tips for boosting reach and engagement in the algorithm, all that kind of stuff to get you started. Have a look at the guide. Link is in the description below. Okay, speeding on because there's a lot to get through. Next app to talk about is LinkedIn. And I know we've already got a few comments, people talking about LinkedIn, which is really interesting to see. So if you've used LinkedIn yourself, let me know in the comments what your experiences have been with it. Did it actually get you students? What do you find the easiest kind of content to create on LinkedIn has been? As you're probably aware with, is a very professional networking focused platform. It's popular primarily with business professionals. And it's also a great place as well for connecting with agents and schools and other side referral partners too. I would say in terms of the kind of content broadly that people tend to create on LinkedIn, it can be a lot of text-based content. You can also do lives. You can post images. You can post files even, all kinds of stuff. But you'll often see more text-based content being popular there. And the great thing is that as long as you make your content public, it can actually be indexed by Google and show up in search results. So sometimes when you're Googling something, it will actually recommend you a LinkedIn post or a LinkedIn article, which kind of answers the question that you were Googling. So there's actually quite a lot of potential for sort of this almost cross-platform kind of promotion coming in when LinkedIn is around. I would also say as well, even if you're not someone who's going to be actively using LinkedIn for finding new students, I would still recommend having a LinkedIn profile because if someone searches your name on Google, you want your profile to be the one that comes up, not someone else who's also called John Smith, right? So by creating a personal profile on LinkedIn, it just means that you're there when people are searching and you can just list out your career history and your qualifications, whatever, just to kind of give you a little bit more of that, reputation or established presence online. So it's also useful from that point of view, even if you're not yet ready or don't want to focus on it as a place for finding students directly. So, as you're probably aware, LinkedIn could be a very good fit for you if you're someone who teaches business professionals, or if you want to connect with schools, with agents, or other referral partners. So it can be a great place if you want to connect with those more professional audiences. It's also somewhere to go if you enjoy networking and connecting directly with people. It's a lot more formal, I would say, than somewhere like Facebook, but it's also the kind of place where you can reach out to people who aren't directly connected to you, as long as you have something in common to sort of prompt that initial conversation. And it's considered a bit more acceptable to reach out to people more directly. Whereas on Facebook, if someone messages you out the blue on Facebook, then they're probably a scammer and no one's interested, right? So Facebook tends to block a lot of sort of new messaging requests or connections. Like, it's very much a place for connecting with people you already know. Whereas LinkedIn can be a good place for asking for recommendations for people to refer you to their friends or their wider audience or useful connections they have, or for you to directly reach out yourself based on some common interest. And in terms of the kind of content you could create, LinkedIn could be a good fit if you're someone who likes to create more extended long posts. Like, you like writing long essay kind of blog post kind of content. Also, you're someone who likes to actively engage with comments a lot. One of the key kind of ways to be successful on LinkedIn is to just engage very actively in comments on other people's posts, right? Someone posts about a new work anniversary, you comment on it, congratulations, well done on the promotion or something. Someone shares a useful article, you comment with your own insights or highlighting a few kind of things that stood out to you, right? That kind of commenting strategy is really key to success on LinkedIn. So if you enjoy that, it's a great place for you. And I would say just in general, it's a place for you to establish yourself as a kind of thought leader in your field, in terms of creating valuable, insightful posts, and could be top tips or sharing resources or strategies and things like that. But it's that kind of a platform. It has lots of very useful features. Firstly, I've already mentioned this about articles. You can create longer posts yourself, like on your own profile, you can write a post and it could be quite a long extended article. But you can also contribute to shared articles within the LinkedIn kind of wider community. And these can be viewed by anyone and everyone, like they're being actively recommended by the algorithms of some kind. I'm not really entirely sure how it does it, to be honest. But anyway, you can engage with these shared articles, add comments, add suggestions and insights to the article. And then your comments, if they get sort of upvoted and stuff by the wider community, can get seen by a larger audience. Can even be highlighted on your profile and things as well. Talking about your profile. Your profile, I mean, obviously all of these platforms you have a profile, right? But something I think really stands out in terms of a feature of LinkedIn is that the profile is really customizable, right? You can organize the sections how you wish. You can describe your previous jobs and things like that however you wish. You can write a whole giant essay talking about yourself if you want to. You can add reviews and case studies. You can share resources. You can add files, all kinds of stuff. Like, it's got a lot of potential for you to really design almost like a landing page, sort of how you want people to learn about you and what you want to be highlighted to them. So it's got a lot more potential than other platforms in terms of this profile optimization type stuff. We've already said this, but networking is really, really key on LinkedIn. This could be through groups, it could be through recommendations, it could be through agents, it could be through mutual connections, and there's all kinds of different ways to reach out and build your network. And a final feature that I think is not really taken advantage of enough, and really should be, is the ability to add services to your profile. So, hiccups. If you go on your profile, you can directly list and promote services that you're offering, and you'll get requests from people who are interested in those services within the LinkedIn platform itself. And you'll also feature things like that on your LinkedIn profile, so it's more highlighted, and it's something that is being actively promoted a lot by their systems. So before I get to the questions, I know there's a few questions in the chat, so do keep them coming in. A couple of quick wins to boost connections on LinkedIn, which then helps lead into those sort of conversions. Firstly, it sounds kind of obvious, but add your existing connections and mutual contacts. So any schools you've taught at previously, if you worked with a company before, go and add a whole bunch of the previous admin team of a company you worked with that closed before. Because someone who used to be one of the sales assistants at VIP Kid might now be there as an agent for someone promoting independent teachers. You never know. If you're someone who wants to work with agents in that way, this can be a good way to connect more professionally with those kind of people, rather than through somewhat slightly dodgier social media apps where it's a little bit more dubious who you're actually talking to. So connect with existing connections, mutual contacts, or people at previous workplaces, that kind of thing. Then go and ask them for recommendations and reviews. So they can actually go on your profile, and there's the option at the bottom of your profile for you to request a review. And you can message people and ask them to write a review, and it appears on the bottom of your profile, and it's a really great way for them to be directly recommending you. And you can even ask them if there's anyone in their network who might be interested in your services or might be able to assist you with something, and they can put you in touch. And then finally, go and write comments everywhere. This is probably the number one strategy. If you've already set up your profile and you've added everyone you already know, that kind of thing, the next thing to go and do is go comment on posts that everyone in your audience has created, also news-related kind of posts. You can follow companies and stuff that you're interested in and write comments on their posts and stuff. Obviously, don't be scammy about it. I mean, be authentic, write positive comments, congratulations on things like job offers or like workplace sort of updates that people have shared. Add your own insights or talk about what you really loved about someone's content that they created. That kind of comment is a really great way to get yourself seen by a wider audience as well. Okay, I'm going to jump into the chat because I saw a few questions that I wanted to put up and have a look at. I've lost them. I should have starred them and saved them to come back to. Too much going on in the chat, which is great. Okay, Deborah asked, I don't feel like I get any benefit from LinkedIn, seeing as my target market's primary school kids. I'm thinking of closing it. Firstly, don't close it. It's still there as your professional presence, that when people look up your name online, it will show up and prove that you're a legit person and gives you that bit more established presence in an online space. So keep it there and make sure it's been optimized to sort of showcase your key skills and qualifications and that kind of thing. But at the same time, I'd also agree with you that it's probably not the best place to go to if you're targeting primary school kids, because the parents of primary school kids, or at least the ones who are making decisions around their kids' education, for example, are unlikely, not at all. I mean, some of them, they will be using LinkedIn for their sort of professional use, but they're unlikely to be using LinkedIn in terms of connecting with tutors for their kids. It's more of a platform for professional services and connections. So if you're offering services for business professionals, like teaching them English. But yeah, good point of view. Okay, I think that was a comment I wanted to pull up. There's a comment earlier, LinkedIn is good for getting your resume noticed, exactly. So connecting with particularly schools or other jobs as well. But it's not just a place for jobs, it's also a place for people who are offering freelance services too. Excellent. Okay, so that was a few quick wins for LinkedIn. Just a reminder again of this amazing free resource. I'm going to pop the link in the chat. It's here, which has lots of details on all these social media platforms, including a huge section on LinkedIn. There's a big focus on the LinkedIn one in particular about how to optimize your profile to convert, because your profile is such a really key part of how you establish yourself on LinkedIn. So even if you're not actively using LinkedIn to connect with students, you just want to use it as a little place to have a profile in case people Google you. Do have a look at that section of the guide, because it gives you a whole bunch of sort of top tips of what to include in your profile, how to organize things. And there's also some advice on the kind of content you can create and how to actually engage in this whole networking thing if it's something you're less familiar with. Okay, moving swiftly on. Lots to get through today. Next one is YouTube, which everyone here should be familiar with because today's live stream is being streamed on YouTube. But YouTube is, as I'm sure you're aware, a search-based platform. Big focus is any kind of video content. So they could be long-form videos, short-form videos, and live streams. It's popular with a really wide range of ages and niches. And as we were talking about earlier, because of YouTube's link to Google, like they're owned by the same company, they often appear at the top of Google search for relevant queries, which is why that kind of how-to type content tends to do very well, because it's a search-based platform. People go there for advice, for tutorials, for like guidance on different things. Let me know in the chat if you've ever tried creating content on YouTube for students. I'd be really interested to hear who's working on this, because I feel like there's a lot of content out there aimed at kids, not necessarily that much aimed at parents. I think there's an untapped market potential on YouTube here. So YouTube could be a good fit for you if you're someone who enjoys creating video content and doing live streams, right? You like being on camera. If you don't like being on camera, YouTube's not the place for you. Like some people do try and create those sort of faceless channels or like AI content, like this sort of stuff. But honestly, if you don't want to have your face on camera and be talking and doing videos yourself, I wouldn't focus on YouTube. Go elsewhere, okay? But if you like videos and you like doing lives and things like that, YouTube is a great place. We were talking about earlier about it being very search focused and content having a long lifespan on YouTube. It's a great place if you're someone who wants to create content that's high quality, put a lot of work into creating amazing high quality content, and then for that high quality content to continue to bring you leads over a much longer period of time. It's sometimes quite frustrating when you're creating content on somewhere like Instagram, where it has quite a short lifespan. So you spend absolutely forever making the most beautiful, amazing posts, and then it just sort of flops, and it's a few days of people engaging with it, and then nothing, right? YouTube's a good place if you want to really put the work into making amazing, fantastic content, and then it will continue doing well in the longer term, right? It's not going to expire and go out of date within a week or two. It's also a good fit. So that also, by the way, that means that if you're someone who just want to be creating content every day, like on a regular basis, you're someone who'd rather make a smaller number of high quality videos spread out over a longer period of time. YouTube's a good place for that. And yeah, as it says, the bottom bullet point here, if you're someone who's creating kind of more specialist expert content and you want to create like detailed tutorials, that how-to content that we were talking about earlier, structured lessons or deep dive content within a particular niche, that tends to do particularly well on YouTube. I would say that broader content can be a little bit harder in terms of doing well on the algorithms of reaching your actual target audience. It tends to work best if you sort of narrow down your specialism somewhat. And that, to be honest, also goes for a lot of the other platforms that we've talked about. Okay, YouTube has lots of awesome features. As you probably can tell, I'm quite a big fan of YouTube because I use it a lot for promoting my business, Abridge Academy, selling teaching resources. And that's why I'm doing the webinar here on YouTube. It's got a lot of potential. It's got lots of really great features. I'm also kind of what we were saying earlier about not wanting to create content like on a daily basis. I can be a bit lazy when it comes to marketing sometimes. And the great thing about YouTube is that when I'm in the mood, I can create a really good high quality video and post it. And it doesn't matter if I don't post something for a long period of time afterwards, right? So it's really good from that point of view. Yeah, digging into specific features. Obviously, you can post videos. I'm not going to bother telling you that because you already know it. Other features that are worth highlighting, though, and if you're someone who's relatively new to actually creating content on YouTube, you should be looking into in terms of the first few things to focus on with your channel. The first one would be playlists. So whenever you create content, try and create content on a theme, like multiple videos on a similar kind of topic, and then create a playlist collating all those videos in one place. Then go and edit the description of all of those videos and include the link to that playlist in each video. So you're always recommending people to go to the playlist to see other videos, that kind of content. Once people have clicked through to the playlist, they're going to keep watching through all of those videos or automatically play the next one once they finish the previous video. That helps boost your watch time and boost more engagement and people seeing more of your content because you've directly led them to a list of like 10 videos of yours to watch in one go. You might have noticed if you joined today's live stream from either the email link or when I posted it on Facebook, I didn't just post the link to the specific live, I actually posted a link to this live within the playlist. So on the right hand side, you might have already closed it, but on the right hand side somewhere, if you're watching on desktop, I'm not sure about on mobile, but on desktop it would have actually given you a list of the other videos in this playlist, which is the replays of the previous lives that we've done on related topics. So once you finish watching today's live stream, if you'd like to learn more about marketing globally and finding students worldwide and different marketing strategies, all kinds of stuff, that playlist is already there on the screen for you to refer to and keep watching more of my amazing videos, right? So you can do that strategy yourself whenever you create content. If you're cross-promoting it in other places, post it as the playlist link and people can then view all of your videos instead of just the one video. I'm not sure if that made sense. That was a bit of a rambling explanation. I might talk about more of that later. If you've got any questions, let me know. Obviously, you can do videos. Another really underused part of YouTube by a lot of teachers is the ability to create live streams. I think you do need a minimum number of followers before you can do live streams, but something like maybe 100 followers or something. I think it's quite low, the barrier to entry for this. But essentially with live streams, you can connect directly with your audience through things like webinars, just like we're doing in today's session. It's a really great way, even if you haven't spent ages building up like your online presence, you don't want to spend like lots and lots and lots of time on social media. Let's say you're combining this with Facebook, right? And you're posting in Facebook groups. You want to put a few posts in Facebook groups and then link people through to something that's then going to sell them something. The thing to link them to would be a YouTube live and do a webinar on a related topic. So you go on Facebook, right? You create a post saying, do you want your students to get into the top school of their dreams, blah, 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 whatever, depending on what your niche is, right? Something that's going to really call their attention to it and focus on their key goal. Come along to my free webinar on Sunday. And then the link is to sign up. Well, first you want to sign up on like a Google Form, so you've got their email list. But once they're on the email list, they're going to be forwarded to the live that you'll be running on YouTube on Sunday, right? So live streams are a really great way of running a live event with zero cost, no stress, right? You don't have to have too much fancy platforms and things. You can use tools like I'm using Wave Video right now for doing this live stream, so I can screen share and talk at the same time, that kind of thing. But honestly, if you're just getting started, there are free options out there for that, and it's designed to be as easy to use as possible. Then on the live stream, as you can see, I was putting links in the chat to like the free guide that you guys all should be downloaded by now, hopefully, because it's got so much useful advice. But you can also, if you want to, directly pitch something. Like you can say in the live, obviously do all your wonderful content, tell them about all your great ideas, share some case studies from previous students, show off how amazing you are as a teacher, and then pitch to them, if you join this week, I'm doing a promotional deal for my next semester long program, blah, 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 sign up here. And you can put the link for them to sign up for something in the chat. So it's a great place to do that kind of live sales pitch in live streams. So yeah, I know they sound a bit scary, but honestly, I find lives a lot easier than making videos. Like, they're not that stressful. Go for it. Okay, next key feature on YouTube, I'm going to try and skim through these more quickly, sorry guys, is the community tab. This is something that once you've started having more followers, you definitely want to be making the most of. You can post text, images, polls, behind the scenes kind of content. It's mostly going to be seen by your existing followers. It can be shown by the algorithm to a wider audience, but doesn't tend to that much. It's also a good place for promotional content, like if you've got an upcoming program that you're launching, like a group class is starting soon, or if you're offering a special seasonal discount or something like that, right? That's the kind of thing you could post quite well in the community tab. Basically, it's the place for non-video content. YouTube isn't just about videos. The community tab allows you to post other types of content as well. Okay, finally, I want to talk a little bit about monetization on YouTube. All of the social media platforms we talked about have some ways of making money, right? Obviously, you can try and promote your classes. It's a key way of making money. Something that I think YouTube does have a lot of potential for, if you're someone who wants to explore other options beyond just selling your classes, YouTube's got a lot of monetization features as well. So you can do like super chats, for example, and people ask a question and give you a little kind of donation at the same time. You can earn money through these super chats on YouTube. You can offer memberships where people get exclusive access to your videos, for example, or other exclusive content. You can do things like affiliate links. You can put links anywhere on your videos, right? Links to things that you're selling, or also links to other things that you're recommending, and it could be like an affiliate kind of arrangement. As your account grows, once you've got, I want to say I needed 1,000 followers. It's not actually that many followers you need, and then 4,000 watch hours or something. You can then earn ad revenue from YouTube. So whenever someone watches your video and an ad plays, you get a small percentage commission of from that ad revenue. And of course, you can directly sell things. So like in terms of monetization and other ways of selling and other ways of monetizing content, there's a lot of options on YouTube that you don't have on many other apps. So worth looking into if that's something that interests you. Talking a lot. Okay, have a quick drink. Okay, let me know in the chat if you've got any questions about any of the social media platforms we've talked about so far, particularly YouTube, because we're talking about that right now. But I'd be really interested to hear if this is something you're considering and what questions you might have on this. But yeah, some quick wins to get you started. If you've just opened a brand new YouTube account and you haven't got anything yet, what to do, I would first recommend searching for commonly searched questions and trending topics in your niche. In the social media guide, the link is in the description, just to remind you again, there is some advice on where you can go to find these search questions and to find these trending topics. And essentially you want to find like basic questions that people are Googling. You want to create content that's using that same search term or the same search query that they are entering. Because then when someone searches for it, your video is going to be recommended first. Also, if you're doing things like live streams or even other videos and stuff that you create, anything you create, the YouTube algorithm can be a bit difficult and slow starting when you're first starting out. So as much as you can, try and give it a bit of a boost by cross-promoting anything you're creating, whether that's lives, whether that's videos, anything you're doing on YouTube. Cross-promote it to other socials you've got or your email list and so on to get more people watching and engaging with that content. Obviously, that's not a direct way to get students from YouTube directly straight away because you're bringing people from elsewhere, but it's going to really help you establishing your audience on YouTube and the algorithm starting to recommend your content more. I'll be honest, YouTube is a slow platform. It's not going to be one to get you students the next day. It's going to be something that takes you a bit more time. If you want to get students instantly today, go look at Facebook, okay? That strategy of going into Facebook groups, for example, is a really quick win. Whereas this one, it does take time to pay off. I'm going to be honest. But as we're saying, content on YouTube, even though it doesn't go viral very quickly and reach a huge audience in a short time, it does have that longer term potential, stays active for a longer period of time. So pros and cons to the fact that YouTube's a bit slow. Yes, another reminder for our free resource. It's got some sort of section of information all about YouTube, including video topic ideas and examples, top tips for boosting reach and followers, and how to actually sell on YouTube. Useful tools and resources, such as the tools that I use for doing things like live streams or for video editing, or for finding search terms and keywords and optimizing your videos, that kind of stuff. A lot of those tools, by the way, are useful not just for YouTube, but also for other video-based platforms. So have a look at that section of the resource, even if YouTube's not going to be something you're focusing on from the start. Okay. Gosh, we're already like up to an hour and I still haven't got onto the bit where we talk about how to pick the best one for you. Okay, I'm going to very quickly go through TikTok, and then we're going to go into a bit more detail how to pick the best platform for you specifically. I'm sure you've heard of TikTok. It's obviously grown massively in the last 5 years or so, or in fact longer than that. It's a very algorithm-driven platform. Content can go viral or it reaches no one. It can be very hit and miss, but once you get it right, it can really grow rapidly. It's focused primarily on short-form videos, as I'm sure you're aware, and it's particularly popular with teens and young adults. So that very specific audience. TikTok could be a great platform for you if you are someone who teaches older teens or university students, perhaps. Like maybe you're offering like IELTS preparation classes, something along those lines that might be aimed at people going to university. If you're someone who likes to create entertaining, trend-focused, humorous, like engaging content, this can be a really great app for that type of stuff. Less of the how-to videos and more of the fun comedic videos, right? I'd also say TikTok's great if you're someone who's very tech savvy. So you need to be relatively confident or willing to learn how to create fast-paced short videos where you're going to catch people's attention within the first second or so, adding fun effects, using trending music and audio, jumping on the latest trends, all of that kind of stuff. It is perhaps a little bit more of a challenging platform to be successful. Maybe I'm saying that because I'm not someone who's massively like into TikTok, but it has a lot of potential if this is the kind of content that you love to create. And it reaches a very different audience to some of the other platforms that we've been talking about. Quick summary of some of the useful features. Or these aren't necessarily features, actually, these are more just things to be aware of on TikTok. Firstly, challenges and trends are a really big part of the platform. So jumping onto trending audio, hashtag challenges, memes, games, like the sort of stuff that you need to be actively looking at this stuff yourself on a regular basis to see what is coming up and what people are creating content on, and then create your own stuff inspired by that. So you do have to be quite on top of the challenges and the trends and things that are going on. Another great feature it does have, and this is something that I've seen I think it has a lot of potential, and I've not seen a lot of people actually using it yet, is the ability to do duets or stitches or video replies, stuff that's building on content that other people have created. So let's say someone's made a video and you want to like respond to that video, like do your own reaction to that video. Within TikTok, you have the ability to film a reaction video where while it's playing, you're doing your, wow, amazing, and then you go on and give your own explanation or follow-up bit. This kind of video is a great thing to do if you're just getting started, because it's going to help you reach kind of an audience that are already interested in that content. Because if that previous video was popular, then people might be watching your video to learn more about your perspectives on that existing content that people already liked. So there's opportunities to sort of collaborate with other users or to respond to other creators' content, and therefore harness existing audiences on TikTok. Something that, again, you need to have a certain number of followers, I think, to unlock this, but you can also do like live streams, and that can be a great way to do sort of live sessions of some kind, Q&A, practice sessions, things like that. Some people get really into live streams on TikTok. It can be a really big thing. So if that's something you enjoy, it's quite a different vibe to YouTube lives, but it has a lot of potential if that's something you enjoy doing. And then finally, it's also one of those platforms they have put quite a lot of effort into opening up monetization opportunities beyond just selling your own stuff. So there's things like the Creator Fund. People can gift you stuff during live streams. They can give you like a gift, which has like a financial value. You can do paid advertising if you've got a company, you want to promote something directly. You can open a TikTok shop. And once you've got a certain number of followers, I think it's only like 100 or so followers or something, to unlock this feature, you can add external links in your bio, which then can link people out to your products or your own store off the platform. So it's not a great place for promoting off-platform content because it doesn't allow you to put links to wherever you want on your videos, that kind of thing, but it does have some potential in that aspect too. Yeah, so it's mostly a place to go if you just love short form videos. That's the main focus of TikTok. So just as with the previous platforms, I want to give a few quick wins to get your first few students from TikTok. Firstly, look into that trending audios, hashtag challenges, the stuff that's going viral, that's going to be popular, because that's going to help you reach a wider audience more quickly through the algorithm. Like I was mentioned before, use collaboration tools like duets, stitches, video replies, things like that. That's going to help you harness existing audiences or reconnect with people who've already commented, engaged with your content previously. The algorithm is not very faithful to like stuff that people have followed. It's very much focused on engagement metrics. So you want to get like good watch time, good engagement, likes, comments, all that kind of stuff on your videos to get them seen. When you do start getting followers though, you want them then to be able to check out your classes, right? Now, the kind of content that's popular on TikTok is more entertaining kind of content. People go there to be entertained. So if you try and create stuff that's directly promotional all the time, it's very hard to reach that wider audience through the algorithm. But what you can do instead is create 1 or 2 videos that are more promotional, and then you want to pin that video to the top of your profile so that once they've seen some of your content and they're interested in it, when they go and check out your profile, then they can see your sales pitch. So even though that intro video, so sales pitchy type stuff, is not necessarily going to reach a wider audience by itself through the algorithm, you want it pinned on your profile so that people can then be directed to check out your classes, having found your profile through other content you created that is a bit more viral. Now, if TikTok sounds a bit scary for you, but perhaps you know it's where your audience is, but you're just not quite sure where to get started, do check out the free guide. Link is in the description. Lots of advice there on some initial ideas to get started on TikTok. Oh, talked a lot. Okay. So we've just gone through their 5 different social media platforms and some ideas as to what kind of content you create, who's using those platforms, and some top tips and strategies you can use to reach a wider audience. So how can you decide which is the best for you? Well, quite simply, the best is going to depend on a whole bunch of different factors. The first thing I would consider is what you're already familiar with. Like we're saying at the beginning of the webinar, you want to focus on a place that you already know how to use. Why bother learning something new from scratch? Focus on something you already enjoy and you already know exactly how the whole platform works, right? It's going to save you a huge amount of time to get started. It's also important to think about what kind of content you like to create, right? If you love short form videos, then obviously TikTok's going to be a great place to be. If you hate short form videos, don't even bother considering TikTok, yeah? So have a think about what you actually enjoy making, because ultimately you've got to be spending quite a lot of time on any social media platform to really grow your audience and bring in students from these apps. So in order to motivate you to put the time into it, it's got to be the kind of content you actually enjoy creating and have got the tech skills and the confidence to get started. And finally, don't forget to also think about your target audience. Okay, if you're targeting business professionals, they're not going to be on TikTok. Likewise, if you're targeting sort of older teenagers, they're probably not going to be on LinkedIn, right? So think about who your target audience is, where they tend to hang out online, and that's the place you want to be going to create content and start building up your audience, building your reputation, and then converting students. So let me know in the chat. I know we've talked a lot today, and I feel like I might have overwhelmed you guys. Before we get on to how to pick the best one and a sort of summary comparison, which social media app are you already considering now, having just had a quick look at those 5 different options? Or maybe there's something else you've been looking into separately. What kind of apps are you considering? Has this inspired you or scared you off any of them? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on these different apps. I feel like I've done that thing where I get excited and talk about something very quickly and overwhelmed everyone with too much in one go. But hopefully this has been helpful for you. I'd also say, by the way, if you want to go back and revisit any of those information and those different strategies that I kind of ran through very quickly, do feel free to watch the replay again and zip back and refresh your memory on any of that, because we talked about quite a lot very, very rapidly. Also, if there's anything in particular you'd like me to go into more detail on, if you've got questions about, there's a bit of time for Q&A perhaps, and also I'd like to do some more follow-up webinars on some of these platforms in more detail. So let me know if there's any in particular you have questions on or would like to know more about in a follow-up session. Deborah's saying Facebook and YouTube, great. Yeah, those are the ones I think people have already mentioned they're familiar with earlier on in today's webinar, and definitely could be a great place to focus. Excellent. Good. Okay, so which is the best platform for you? As I said, first thing I would consider is what you're already familiar with and what you enjoy creating. So if you're someone who likes communities, you like networking, and you like kind of text-based content, you want to write stuff, I would recommend having a look at Facebook or LinkedIn. These platforms are very community focused, very networking focused, and you don't have to be creating videos or pretty pictures and stuff if you don't want to. You can still be very successful on these apps just by creating text-based content. And they're also quite focused on like messaging and building that sort of network. If you're someone who prefers longer videos and doing things like live streams, YouTube is a kind of obvious one to go for that. There's perhaps more editing and things involved in creating longer videos, but if you like being on camera and you're very confident in terms of your sort of camera presence, then YouTube is a fantastic place to go. Whereas if you prefer short form videos, which are very much booming on a lot of platforms at the moment, TikTok is the most obvious one, but there is also a big focus on short form content on YouTube and Instagram as well. They basically just copied the idea of TikTok, though. TikTok got there first, let's be honest. You can create short form videos on Facebook and even LinkedIn too, but generally Facebook's not too bad at recommending that sort of content, but it's not like the main focus of it. So I would say if you're a really big fan of short form videos and you like that kind of fun, snappy, super engaging and entertaining kind of content, then probably TikTok will be a key place to focus. And a lot of people start with TikTok and then they just, once they've edited a video for TikTok, they'll also post that same video on YouTube and on Instagram because they've got a similar sort of setup in terms of short form video content. And finally, for someone who likes images, pretty visuals, maybe you're a big Canva fan, right? You love making those sort of Canva graphics of like top tips or something like that, then Instagram can be a fantastic place to go. So have a look at what's on the screen right now. Think about kind of content you enjoy creating and jot down which apps kind of align well with that type of content. You might be thinking, oh, I'd love to get into short form videos, but I'm not really sure where to get started. Think about perhaps what you already know how to do and then where there might be some overlap. So maybe you're already very confident with Canva graphics and making pretty pictures. Start with Instagram and start experimenting a bit with the short form video content as you go to see if that's something you want to focus on longer term. But I'll start with what you already are familiar with, what you already feel confident doing, because ultimately that's going to help you get started more quickly. Okay, hopefully I'll give you a bit of time then to think about some options. The other key thing to think about is where your audience hangs out, right? Because it's all very well posting those amazing short form videos on TikTok and get lots of great interactive stuff going on there. But if you're trying to target business professionals, you're not going to reach them there. So, it's a waste of time. So first thing you want to be thinking about, if you're teaching kids and teens, you don't actually want to target the kids or the teens. You want to target the parents of kids and teens. They're probably going to be like millennials, that kind of age range, in order to have kids in that age group. And therefore, you'll be looking at platforms like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. These kind of apps are going to be very popular. They will also be on places like LinkedIn, but they might not be looking on LinkedIn for tutors for their kids. They'll be looking on LinkedIn for stuff to do with their own job and their own professional life. So it's going to be harder to engage with them in terms of finding content about your teaching when that's not what they're using that platform for. Whereas they quite often might be in like Facebook communities for, homework help groups or something, or their local kindergarten might have a group on Facebook, that sort of thing. And they'll be looking at like kids' activities, stuff like that. They'll be in those sort of community groups on Facebook. Likewise, they might be following like ideas on on Instagram. People post up like fun things to do with your kids in the holidays, right? A short video, or it could be a little carousel post with a few pictures of like fun activities that help your kids with their reading or phonics learning or something during the school holidays. Sorry, vacations for you Americans during school breaks. That's the kind of thing that would be popular on Instagram, yeah? So it's the kind of place that parents are actively going to look for inspirational content or ideas or strategies or top tips to help them with the parenting and with their kids' education. So yeah, these platforms. The next category I put here is like older teens or university students. I'm looking here at like sort of 18 to maybe 25-year-olds, that sort of age range. Key places to look at then would be TikTok or YouTube. There's a really big focus. Many of them will also be on platforms like Instagram, but I got told quite recently that apparently I'm old using Instagram now, so maybe it's not the big up-and-coming ones, So have a look into these if you're someone who is focusing on that sort of younger end of adult kind of age range, older teens, young adults, that age range. Whereas if you're focusing more on business professionals, sort of older age range, here are a whole bunch of different apps to look into, which is most of the ones we looked at today, to be honest. Lots of opportunities there, and it depends a lot then on your industry and your niche. So if you're focusing on a very sort of career-focused, industry-specific, like maybe you're looking at like IT professionals or something, then LinkedIn is probably the place to go for that. Whereas if you want to connect with, say, international like people who are moving abroad, maybe they're going to be on Instagram for inspiration about the country they're moving to, or Facebook communities for people in the process of moving abroad to a specific country, like expats, people moving to Australia or something, and they want advice on that process. They'll be in those sort of community groups. Yeah, so these are kind of places to look for if you're targeting these wider audiences. Okay, so let me know in the chat if that's giving you a little bit of an idea on where to focus on. Hopefully you've seen a bit of a link between the previous slide where we looked at what kind of content you might enjoy creating and then where your target audience is hanging out. As you see, there's like maybe 2 or 3 different options to pick between each of those. Hopefully there's a bit of an overlap there that then highlights the ideal platform for you that works best, where both your target audience is and you can create the kind of content that they will engage best with. And just a reminder to check out the link in the description for the free guide to all of the social media platforms we talked about today. And it also covers a couple of other more niche platforms in a smaller amount of detail. So do check that out. Lots of top tips, the best social media platforms to find students worldwide, simple actionable strategies and top tips to attract new leads, inspirational ideas and like example posts, content ideas, those sort of suggestions, and also a whole section about how to build a marketing funnel that actually works. Once you've got leads, once you've got interest on these social media platforms, how to actually get them to start paying you for classes. So have a look at that link in the description if you'd like to get that free guide. I also want to remind you a bit of our Facebook group. I don't mention this enough on YouTube, and I really should highlight it a bit more in these webinars. So I have a Facebook group which has recently gone through a major rebrand. So if you've wondered what happened to the WeChat and Xiaohongshu for Online Teachers Facebook group, it's gone. Well, actually renamed to the Online ESL Teacher Marketing and Growth Community. I'm going to put the link in the chat for that because if you're not in it already, it's a fantastic place to connect with fellow teachers, to share ideas, to hear about upcoming webinars, and to ask any questions and things you've got about marketing and promoting your independent teaching business. So yeah, now called the Online ESL Teacher Global Marketing and Growth Community. Do feel free to join. The link is in the chat. Would love to have you join us. Okay, so let me know in the chat what's been most inspirational or helpful for you today in the webinar. I'd love to hear what you're planning on doing next, or if it's encouraged you to think about any other social media platforms that you could be using to find your students. As a quick summary of the key ideas, here are the 5 platforms we talked about today. We've talked about Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and TikTok. Obviously, there are many more apps out there as well. This is not the exclusive only list. You might be thinking, oh, actually, I know that loads of my target audience are on Discord or something a bit niche, right? Which is great, like giving you hopefully some ideas, but also some thoughts to think about that might help you pick a different app if that's more appropriate for you. And as we said, the best option for you specifically is going to depend on the content you enjoy creating and your target market, where they tend to hang out online. The key thing to get across though is that these social media apps will allow you to reach a worldwide audience, allow you to find students in a whole bunch of other different countries, allow you to diversify your business, and it's going to make your business grow a lot more sustainably in the longer term as well. And as a big advantage, most of these apps you're probably already somewhat familiar with already, which is going to give you a big advantage in terms of getting started. So yes, I hope this has given you a few ideas. I realize I've bombarded you with a lot of different kind of suggestions and quick insights there. If there's anything that stood out to you, let me know in the chat. If you've got any further questions on things, I'll probably have to leave it for another webinar because we've already overrun massively today. But if there's any in particular you'd like to learn more about, I'd love to do some more follow-up webinars talking about some of these platforms in particular. For me personally, I would say my main focus and area of expertise has been YouTube and Facebook, as well as the Chinese social media apps I used to do a lot more content on previously. But if you've got any questions on those, do let me know because I'd love to do a follow-up video or another webinar on some of these strategies in more detail. Maybe even a bootcamp or something. I might have a think about it. Let me know in the comments, or if you're watching the replay, you can put in the comments, or you let me know in the Facebook group what kind of content you would like to see more of on these topics. Okay, so you've got about 10 seconds to ask more questions before I wrap things up. Any last questions or insights, let me know in the chat. Also, don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, all that wonderful stuff. I really appreciate your support for my channel. I'm going to be planning more webinars going forward in the future, focusing on different marketing strategies, how to grow your business, teaching skills, lots of useful insights. So yeah, subscribe for more updates on those, and keep an eye on your emails or in the Facebook group and stuff as well for event notifications. Great. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We've had a really great audience today, which is fantastic. I feel like I've overwhelmed everyone with loads of stuff, but hopefully it's giving you lots of good ideas. And I hope to see you again in the next webinar. It's going to be the same time next week. I think next week's topic, I haven't yet finalised it, but I'm pretty sure next week's topic is going to be more teaching related, to do with either tech and sort of systems and those in place for the new school year, or sort of top tips in terms of onboarding new students, again, with the start of the new academic year. I know in the US you've already started, but if you're not in the US, most other countries, I say most actually, it depends very much on the country. Most of the countries that I personally have focused on are going back in September. So top tips and stuff to do with the new school year is probably going to be the plan for the next video. But yeah, let me know what you'd like to see. Thank you for joining us. I'm so glad to hear this helped. Excellent. Okay, well, I'm going to wrap things up here, and thank you so much for joining, and I hope to see you again same time next week, same place, all of that. Keep an eye on your emails and on Facebook for the full details. Okay, have a great rest of your day, and see you next time.